Hey guys, what is up? I hope everybody has been having an awesome week so far. And boy oh boy, do I have an absolute banger for you guys this week. This is 18 holes at RainDance National Golf Club in Denver, Colorado. This is the longest golf course in America, and I believe the second longest golf course in the world, with the longest golf course being in China. So who knows, that might be a future video as well. But this course is very close to 8,500 yards long, a rating of almost 80 as you guys saw. And there are 600-yard par 4s, 700-yard par 5s. And you guys are absolutely going to want to stick around for the entire video, because later in this video, I almost made a freaking 2 on a 750-yard hole. So you guys are definitely going to want to stick around for that. This was honestly one of the craziest videos I've ever filmed. Just the sheer size and distance of this golf course, it's hard to put into words. And not only that, like some of the tee boxes from the tips, I mean, were literally like 350 yards short of the fairway. So you had to hit it just to get to the fairway. You had to hit your drive like 350 yards. So you'll see a couple of those coming up here pretty soon. So with that being said, if you guys enjoy this video, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really does motivate me to put out more stuff, and I really do appreciate all the support you guys have shown in the past month or two as I started getting my YouTube channel fired up again. So it's really been awesome, and I just want to thank you guys for that. So yeah, I hit a really great shot into this first hole. Pretty much exactly how I drew it up. And I would say the toughest part about playing in Colorado is obviously adjusting for the distance. Being a long hitter, I have to really take more care than most to make sure that I don't let it get away from me. And this is one of these holes I'm talking about. That fairway, you guys see in the distance there, was about 330 yards just to get to the fairway. So if you guys are thinking about playing from these tees, like, I'm sure you can, but you probably need 180 mile an hour ball speed to even be able to actually play and get to the fairways. So that's definitely a challenge. But this is a really great drive here, and honestly, I drove the ball absolutely beautifully all day. So I was pretty happy with how I was able to do off the tees. And if this wasn't hard enough, I hit my drive 400 yards and ends up in a freaking divot. So that's always fun. I also got very lucky because on this given day it was like completely calm. So I know that when the wind kicks up here, it obviously makes it even tougher. I believe, and also for those wondering, I believe the course record is either a 67 or a 68. I know there's a couple 68s on their website. Actually, shout out one of the guys, Jake Stiano. I grew up playing golf with him. We competed in quite a few tournaments together as I was growing up as a junior golfer. But I also believe there was a 67. The head pro told me it had been shot like a week or two ago, so I'm not sure about that. But nevertheless, when your course record is only a few shots under 70, you know you got a brutally difficult golf course. So this was the one part where I know I really could have broken par in this course, or at least been really close if my chipping was better, because I think sometimes when the rest of my game is working, I almost get nervous to shoot really low. So sometimes my short game and, stuff around the green, I feel like it just kind of fades back a little bit, just for no particular reason. That's probably one of my biggest hurdles with the golf is being able to handle my game firing in all cylinders. And you will see that in a very extreme way on this next hole. I'm already thinking about it because it's coming up. This is probably the first normal hole, quote unquote normal hole, on the course, hole 3. But yeah, guys, just take a look at that landscape. It's not like there's a ton of waterfalls or crazy elevation changes, but just the sheer size and acreage of this property is impressive. So bit of a shorter hole here, hit a really good tee shot. This is going to end up on the front right part of the green complex. By the way, the person who designed this course, Fred Funk, one of the shorter hitters on tour, so I can't help but imagine this is his way of getting revenge on the long hitters over the past couple decades. So Something else I noticed about this course that really made it tough, it's 8,500 yards long, but the greens were so freaking hard. Like, it seemed like the ball would roll out an ungodly amount of distance. Like, if it was around the hole, it would roll out, like, instead of rolling out like 1 or 2 feet, it would roll out like 4 or 5 feet and leave yourself another putt. And here I go. I felt a little pressure here. I'm like, man, if I get up and down here, I'm going to be 2 under. And I actually really slow-mode this a lot over the last couple of weeks. And if you guys go to the top of that swing, you can see my hands kind of drift away from my body slightly. And that's just kind of from long drive habits. And so what happens when your hands drift away from your body at the top in a chip swing is that the club gets steeper and the low point can get messed up. And that's basically what happened. I bladed it. So, that is my miss, is I have a tendency to, around the greens, if I get nervous, the club will get steeper on the way down. And when it gets steeper, you have a very, very narrow margin of error. Most of the top pros, especially in tight greens, they will stay very shallow and use a lot of bounce. It gives them a lot more room for error. And, this was definitely getting to a point where slightly annoying. Made a complete mess of that, unfortunately. So I'm even through 3 again. Still not a terrible start. And I definitely know that I can go alone this course, especially if it's a windless day like this. I think the biggest thing for me is understanding the green complexes. And also I feel like you need to play 1 or 2 rounds, quite frankly, just to get over the shock of playing an 8,500 yard golf course. Because I can tell you that's something you don't see every day. So hit this a little heel cutter. Fortunately, the gear effect, bringing it back to the center of the fairway. So this ended up actually being quite a good shot. And it was a bit downhill once it got over the horizon. So I was able to run down pretty far. It is weird though, and it's something I am not used to, like hitting a full drive on a par 4 and having a substantial full shot in. So it's definitely different for me. Didn't hit the worst shot here. The problem was I just pulled it a bit. And it's one of those classic cases of, hitting the pole gives you a little more yardage and it lands hot, so it bounces pretty far over the green. So definitely not a great miss, and I don't think I really accounted for it being downhill enough. So I did draw an okay lie, so at this point, just trying to make sure I get out of here with minimal damage and just trying to take a bit of a stab at this one. Caught it a bit heavy, but it did just fractionally clear that sand trap, so I am at least rolling the putter for a par. And this was really like what I had to accept the entire day, was that, it was going to be very difficult to have good scores just based on how tough this course was. And frankly, I have to be honest, like, these first 4 or 5 holes are definitely easier than the rest of the course. Like, they don't start you out very hard at all. Like, it definitely picks up the pace as you get more into the round. So I have about a 4.5 footer here, clean up bogey. So +1 through 4, not the best stretch of holes. And here's the sign. So I think this is referencing I believe it's Jade Dragon Snow Mountain Park or something. There's a course in China that's like 8,800 yards long, but I mean it's literally like 2.5 miles in the air. You have to wear like oxygen tanks to play it. Now, to be clear, that has certainly been something I've wanted to play for a while. I know you guys would probably like to see that. So, but for now, this is undisputably the longest golf course in North America and probably the second longest course in the world. It took me a while to find this tee box because I parked my cart, past these boxes by the green and drove further up to look for a hole. And I drove right past these tee boxes, and it was one of those moments where I looked back, I was like, wow, I'm playing from there. And this was another one of those holes where it was literally like a 320, 330 yard drive just to get to the fairway. It was just absolutely insane. And I will say, it was intimidating. It really was, because, I'm not used to having to hit like a substantial drive just to get to the fairway. It throws you off a little bit, and I noticed it was a big mental battle for me. And I think the reason I was hitting some shots that weren't that great early on was because I was still kind of trying to grapple with like just how substantial this golf course was. So I unfortunately squeezed this one out to the right a little bit. There was a fractional amount of wind, that started to come into play around this stretch of holes. Nothing much, like 5 to 7 miles an hour, but it was really into the wind, so it was enough for it to factor in and maybe increase my level of discomfort a little bit. And I think that definitely played a role. So coming back up the hill, the pitching wedge here, trying to bump it into the side of the hill, just missed this being a perfect shot. I mean, that was so close to being great. Just a little more of a friendly bounce up there would have probably been all the difference. So I have about 6 feet left for par here, and I remember really wanting this putt to fall. I think it's just because I was on a bit of a bogey train, and I really thought this was going to go in. And that one really, I remember that one stinging particularly bad just because, and I think a lot of people can relate to this. Like when you got a putt you really want to make, and you've made a good roll, it looks like it's going in the hole, and you kind of mentally mark it as a made putt, and then it just kind of takes a left turn at the last minute and dives down. It kind of throws you for a loop. I try not to do that, obviously, because it's not good for your mental game, but I think it happens once in a while. So I believe it's the first par 3 of the day, a little over 200 yards. Just going to hit a stock pitching wedge. And keep in mind, guys, I'm at like 6,000 feet of elevation, so ball's probably going about, I would say, 10% further. But even at that, this is still like at sea level, this would still be like a 7,900 yard golf course. So, I mean, yeah, the elevation definitely makes it a little easier, but even then, the ball's still in the air just as long, so there's still quite a, like, even if you're hitting the same club, there's still that same amount of calculations you have to make with the ball traveling a certain yardage. So it was definitely no easy task. So it felt good to hit a good shot into this hole. I feel like now I can kind of stop the bleeding and, recalibrate, reset, and, redirect things. And that's kind of my focus here. Just didn't quite read this well, and I'll be honest, guys, like I was guessing on so many of these greens. It was just such a, a difficult combination of, the distance, but also, like I felt like for whatever reason, I think I said it earlier, the ball would just roll, when it got close to the hole, the ball would just roll away like a ridiculous amount. Like it would just roll out so much. So I never really got comfortable over mini putts. I do believe if I played a few rounds here, I would probably feel a lot differently. But, that's something that's tough about filming. I mean, you got to go there. You got to film the course the first time you're seeing it. It's definitely something that adds difficulty for sure. So one of the few reasonable length holes here is a little over 600 yards, par 5. Smart play is the layup short of the waist bunker. Hit a great shot and hit a 4-iron off the tee, and I will be hitting another 4-iron very soon. Pin is on the left edge of the green. Very difficult pin location, and I thought a lot of these pin locations were very tough. So this course was probably dressed up about as hard as it can get with regards to pin locations. And I was aiming at the middle of the green, playing something moving to the right, because if you miss left, you're dead. And honestly, hit a really good shot here. This is definitely the place to hit it. You guys can notice I'm in for quite a putt. And this might have been one of the hardest putts that I've ever had in my life. I mean, it was up and down several huge plateaus, and then the greens here are rolling 12.5. I mean, it's not like these are slow greens. So it was set up where even when it went back up the hill, it was downhill, if that makes sense. So it would be downhill and uphill, but immediately after going uphill, it would be a screamer coming back down the hill. So I pretty much had to hit a perfect putt if I wanted just to, give myself a chance to 2-putt. And, this really was a great putt. I couldn't have asked for, a better pace or a better speed. It just, it was just a very difficult, this was about as good as I could have done, honestly. Like, if I got much firmer with it, it could have rolled off the green. So I got about 4.5 feet here. Pretty hard swinger right to left. So I really try to put it above the hole and just make a good stroke. And, honestly, I can't say I made a bad stroke. I just underread it. And definitely a little frustrating. Was a good chance to get a shot back there. But I'm still fighting, I had to temper my expectations because if the course record is either 67 or 68, and they've hosted, they hosted the Colorado Amateur here, albeit from some tees that were closer. But, you got to temper your expectations. One of the things I've learned about this game is that it is very easy to hate this game if you don't come in with a good mindset. And you really have to go into it expecting to make mistakes and just trying to manage them as best as possible instead of, trying to have your perfect golf round, because that's just not going to happen, especially when you play this course. And I would feel very comfortable in saying this is one of the top 5 hardest courses in the world. Because to be honest, like, I caught it on an easy day weather-wise. Like, it was literally not even blowing 8 miles an hour the entire day. And so I couldn't imagine what would happen if the wind was blowing 15 to 20 miles an hour, especially with these greens. I mean, you're about to see a prime example of this right here. I mean, I hit, and it's a 280-yard hole. This was not that bad of a shot from the tee. And I hit as good of a chip as I could, and it barely stayed on, the same shelf. This might be the hardest hole in the front 9. So, but you know what? It's amazing to get to challenge myself with these courses and to, see what I'm capable of. Again, I really... It's actually pretty funny to watch my frustration in real time, because I know how I was feeling. Like, I was certainly enjoying my time out here, but it was definitely wearing on me a little bit. And because it's tough, when you're used to playing a certain way and being able to do certain stuff with the golf ball and the golf course, it's tough when you feel like, the course is punching back at you pretty hard. And, it felt like a 15-round championship fight this entire day. Like, I really felt like, the courses, the holes that were true breather holes, maybe 2 or 3 of them were. Everything else was just a struggle. But, that's part of what we love about this game. So hit a decent drive up here up the left side. And fortunately, it's falling back a little bit. This was a tough shot because it was a blind shot, and I wasn't super sure exactly where to aim, but I inferred as best I could, just in the left rough. And that's probably a 12-foot tall flag, so you always know when that happens. That's because there's an elevation change in the green. Also, stay tuned for the 10th hole. The 10th hole, I mean, you guys, if you know of a different one, let me know in the comments. I think it's entirely possible that the hole after this is the only 600-yard par 4 in the world. I can't say that for sure, but I can tell you I've certainly never seen anything close to like that. I mean, I think before I played this course, the longest par 4 I've ever seen or heard of was like 550 something. And I know Torrey Pines has a really long par 4. It's like 535. And but before that, besides that, I haven't really heard of anything much past 550 as a par 4. And this hole shattered that. Also, you guys can see it's kind of a cool little feature. The 9th green is shared with the practice green, which is kind of interesting. And that was a very steep slope. So, I mean, that was really what was most impressive about this course, is there was just absolutely no let up whatsoever. And it felt like, honestly, like if I let my guard down even a fraction, I would drop a couple shots just like in an absolute instant. So, have this left for par to turn in a sub 40 on the front. And made a really good stroke. So I can't say I'm super upset with how I'm playing so far. I certainly have dropped some shots, and I am hitting the ball well enough to be under par, which is pretty cool. But doing it's a different story. And this is what a 600-yard par 4 looks like. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Just the landscape and the view is just like, it's hard to describe. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just different. But I did hit one of my best drives all day, absolute rocket, and fading right into the right side of the fairway. And it's got a ton of roll too, so I did a good job of cutting this thing down quite a bit. You can see it's the tee box back there. Hit a pretty much perfect tee shot up the right side of the fairway. Was able to shorten this beast up a little bit, but look where they put the flag. They put it in the back right shelf, about probably 6 feet from the shelf on the left. And then, I mean, your only place to place it is to try to put it on the right center of the green on the same shelf and just leave yourself a 30-footer. I mean, it was just crazy. Like, this was absolutely insane. And because of that, I squeezed it out to the right. I was definitely overprotective of missing to the left. and that was certainly influencing me missing to the right. Because missing left was not an option. I mean, you literally had no chances. You guys can see, like, if you're more than 4 or 5 feet left of that pin and you have to go back up that slope, it's almost a guaranteed 3-shot situation. So I can't really say I was upset at all with my leave here. It leaves me a fairly straightforward uphill chip shot with my sand wedge. And I hit the shot. I thought it would be really good, but here's a great example of the golf ball just running out forever. And it really got close to running off the green, which would have sucked. But unfortunately, it did stop on the fringe. But I mean, I thought this would be a foot away, and it still ran like 6 feet out. And it just seemed like everything ran away from the hole. It seemed like every single pin location was on like a mini crown. But I was able to make a really, really good 4 here. And I was pretty pumped about that. That was definitely one of my best holes. Very hard-fought par. And on to the 11th hole, a much shorter par 4, playing uphill with the range to the right. The range was really cool too. It was way out there. Like, it was probably a 10-minute cart ride from the clubhouse to the range. And the range was like, there's like 3 different tiers. It was really a cool setup. So I hit a 4-iron here, slight wind to my back, and good shot here up the right side. And I will say, it was very nice to see par 4 start with a 3, and I was surprised there was more than 1 on this course. But I think that's so they can have the extreme ones as well. So I was able to hit a good shot, leaving short of the sand trap, have 130 yards uphill, hitting a full sand wedge. And again, normally I wouldn't hit a full shot from this distance, but with it being uphill, I want a lot of loft. I want the ability to get the ball to land steeply so that it can hold the green. Unfortunately, this landed just right at the green and then side spun down the hill a little bit. So a bit of a mistake here, but the pin was all the way back, which definitely made it a little more of a difficult shot. So I have a lob wedge here coming back up the hill. And again, this vantage point, I feel like it makes these chips look easier than they really are. Like, when you're under the pin, it just, and I mean, that was such a hard shot now that I think about it. And I really couldn't have done much better unless I landed it in the fairway and risked the ball like bouncing straight up back at me. So I have about 8 feet left here to save par. And again, just, you guys can see how that ball rolls out too. Just can't quite get it to fall. And this was definitely not a hole to make a bogey. I would say this was definitely one of the easier holes. So +4 through 11, on to the 12th hole. Another not intimidating at all par 3 that's over 200 yards long. But they hit a 9-iron here. The wind really did start to die a little bit, so felt confident with my ability to throw it in the air and just kind of let it do its thing. And this is one of my best shots all day. It looked like an absolute dime the entire way, pretty much up and down the flagstick, a fraction to the right, but had the right distance and hit a really good shot here. And I actually think a lot of my shots into the par 3s today were pretty good, so I can't complain. And as you go walking across the bridge, really solid shot there, just threw it a little bit past the pin. And again, just another view of the landscape. I mean, it was just something else. So now I have about 12 feet left for birdie, and this is what really made this course tough. I never truly felt like I was playing offense. I felt like even when I had birdie putts like this, because of the sheer rollout of some of these putts, I could never truly be aggressive, but, that's just made this so difficult. Again, I can't say that was a bad putt. I just, it's tough when you don't have a ton of education on the greens. But here it is. I alluded to it earlier, and here it is. This is the longest hole in the course, 752 yards, I believe. The tee box is literally on the green, on the practice green. And I had to triple check with the head pro, and he said, yes, that is the tips, the front edge of the practice green. So, nothing to do here but send it. And I absolutely destroyed this ball. Hit a left to right screamer that ran probably 50 yards down the hill. So great shape here, a fraction over 300 yards out. And with it being a little downhill, I know in my mind this is literally the perfect distance for my 4-iron. There's not a lot of wind, so I'm going to just set up a slight fade here and just kind of make a smooth swing. And I feel supremely, like, really confident over this shot. And this is probably the best shot I've hit all year. Never left the flag. Absolute heat-seeking missile right at it. And, I mean, this was so good. And you guys will see, I normally don't do this, but I wanted to kind of give you guys my vantage point walking up. So here's the thing. I stared at that shot back where I hit it for about 15 seconds. My father was actually with me when I was filming this, and we were both staring at it. Now, you guys can see this ball. I can't tell if it's laying against the flagstick and just hasn't dropped, or if it's like literally that close. That's how close this ball was to the hole. And in my mind, I'm thinking, if I just made a 2 on a 750-yard golf hole, that might be the greatest thing I've ever done in the history of the game. And, it's obviously the best thing I've ever done in the game, for sure, like this year. And so as I'm walking up, I still can't tell. That's how close this ball is to the hole. And, as I'm walking up, what we actually did, there were some people playing into our hole to the left of us. We actually reached out to them real quick just so we had them as witnesses. Because I honestly just feel like nobody would have believed this otherwise. But you can see as I walk up how close it was. I mean, this was literally like probably 6 inches short of going in, maybe even less. So, I mean, what shocked me was hitting a shot that far and having it land that soft. I didn't realize it would be able to land like that. So, obviously, this helped tremendously. And all of a sudden, I'm only 2 over through 13, and it's a solid round of golf now. So, yeah, that was pretty freaking awesome. And, I mean, yeah, that was just – and you guys can see that was where I hit the shot, and then that was where I hit it too. So, a little perspective of the entire shot. But now on to the next hole, par 3. A little bit downhill. Honestly, pretty simple hole here. Just a stock pitching wedge. And the hard part was definitely recollecting myself and refocusing after that shot. That was definitely not easy. I think I was honestly still in a state of shock, if I'm being frank with you guys. So this shot bled a little bit to the right, but honestly, this was not a bad miss at all. Gave me plenty of room to work with, and this green was front to back, so it's one of those rare instances where it's actually not bad at all to go long because it's an easy up and down. So, pretty straightforward lie here. Not going to try to do too much fancy with it. Just a smooth little chip shot here. Just letting it funnel up and down to the right. And not too bad here. Rolled out a little bit more than I'd like, but I got about 4 feet here for par. This is a pretty straightforward putt. I already know it. And that can be tough sometimes. When you have like a really straightforward putt and it's maybe a 4 or 5 footer, and it's not going to move much on you. Sometimes you can feel it really puts a lot of pressure on you because now you feel like it's a lot more on you. It's almost like sometimes when you have like a big breaking putt, you kind of give up control a little bit, and that actually makes you more free with the putt. So I always find it important to practice straight in putts because you need to get comfortable just making a smooth stroke and also giving up control. So another really tough par 4 here. That water up the right was definitely very visible off the tee. You just got to send it, I guess. And I hit a really good tee shot here, a little bit up the left side, but it landed softly and stayed in a good spot off the tee. So not a bad shot at all. Only about 100, I think it was about 150 yards. We'll see. But yeah, that is a big lake. And definitely not going to be able to carry that one. But, 145 yards, gap wedge. This was a bit of an awkward shot because I couldn't quite hit a full shot. So I kind of hit like a 95% full shot. Took a little bit off of it. And this was not a bad shot at all, but it landed at the top of this crown and just spun back forever. I mean, I literally just watched this thing for the next, 10 seconds roll away from the flagstick. And again, they had another pin cut, on a shelf. So I landed it, back here, and she spun all the way back to the front of the green, and Yeah, this will definitely be a tough putt. So I have to pretty much bring it really close to that fringe on the right and have it barely rolling, because what made this course so tough was they would put these pins on these crowns or on these like ridges, and you would have to barely get that ball over the ridge. And this was such a good putt. That would have been one of the sickest putts I've made in a while, not going to lie. But, I mean, I will take a tap-in two putt from that position any day of the week. So, another good hole here, honestly, and pretty happy with how I've been able to take control of the round and really start thriving on the 16th hole. Dare I say, one of the few breather holes in this course. This is a pretty open par 5, not prohibitively long. I think it was about 600 yards. Did play a little bit into the wind, but again, not by RainDance national standards. This was definitely a breather hole. So hit a good tee shot here. Pulled it a little bit left, but I did hit it hard, and it was into the wind a little bit. So I hit it. It was a flat, hard hit shot, which is exactly what you want to do when wind is hurting. So there was a little bit of a, I guess you could say, a mound, as you guys can see, that made this second shot a little more difficult because it was a blind shot. But the pin is right over that rock, and I got a decent lie here, so I could kind of play this more or less like a shot from the fairway. I'm just going to be flighting this down a little bit with the gap wedge, and just try my best to orient myself with where the flag is and let it go. And I thought this was honest. I felt really good about this shot. I thought it was right at it. And you can never tell, obviously, when it's a blind shot. But it took a tough kick to the left on that little crown you guys see there. But, again, I can't be mad at that because it's literally left me the easiest chip shot you could possibly have. Just over a small mound with, honestly, like, very makeable. So that was what was on my mind, was let's get another eagle on this backside. So just a nice little bump around the sandwich here, nothing too crazy. And there she goes, running out a little bit. But, when you have 3 or 4 foot birdie putts on this course, you really can't be upset about it. So, again, more of the same here, just trying to make a nice smooth stroke, not get too into the weeds with it. And I really feel like I'm taking control of this round now, which feels great. And on to the last par 3 of the day, hole 17. This might have been the most extreme green of the entire round because, I mean, it was so back to front. And into the wind a little bit, so hitting a pitching wedge. So I actually land this shot on the back edge of the green, and this ball spins back about 40 feet. Now, obviously, it wasn't all true backspin. It was like the ball spun back pretty aggressively for the first 10 to 15 feet, and then the ball just rolled back forever. And that's why you can see me just standing there frozen, because the ball landed really close to the hole. And it just landed back there. So actually, you know what? I'm wrong. It landed pretty far away from the hole, but on that back crest, and just spun back probably at least 40 feet. But again, this is not a bad leave at all. This was probably the only spot to place the ball, like short and right of this hole, because everything was so severe, in that direction when it came to like the break and stuff. So a very not good putt here, if I'm being honest, but I honestly was so traumatized from how fast everything was that I think it definitely played a factor in me being a little weaker on this putt. So still have about 5 feet left here to try to save the par. This would definitely, no question, sting if I wasn't able to walk out of here with a 3. So all you can really do in these putts is just make a confident stroke and trust your read and just let whatever happen. And be able to roll it in. And now we're on to the last hole, par 5. Only one over for the round, so I cannot be upset at all with how this has been going. And you want to put this tee shot between that cluster of trees and that little shed out there, and that's where the pin is. So it's a severe dogleg right, and just so you know, there's no chance I can get to that second fairway. That's 480 yards uphill into the wind. So I'm just going to hit a 1-iron here. Hit a bit of a slider, absolutely perfect shot, just right at that clump of trees, which is exactly where I want to be. This thing ran probably like 30 yards and funneled up the right side. Gave myself the best possible spot coming into this hole. So, still into the wind a little bit. It's probably about 5 or 6 miles an hour of wind hurting. Pins on the front shelf. So definitely going to give this one a run. But here's one last look at the entire landscape. Just absolutely beautiful. So I have 247 yards, hitting a 7-iron. With the wind being into the face, this is a little bit of a strong number for this club, but I did not want to go long. And I hit a really good shot here, up a little bit left, but falling to the right. And you guys can probably tell by my reaction where it landed. It landed like on the back edge of that sand trap. I mean, if it flew another 5 yards, I would have had about a 20-foot eagle putt, and that would have been great. So again, though, I can't complain too much. I gave it a great run, and one more club would have been great, but at the same time, I just didn't want to risk a double cross or the wind dying down and going way long and having something crazy. So I'm just going to kind of scoot this one out of here. I wasn't very comfortable over this bunker shot, but it was my first, I think, true sand shot, so I wasn't super familiar with how the sand would react. But I can't be too upset with that. And now I have about a 12-footer here to finish around strong. And it's just crazy how good the weather has been all day. I was so lucky to catch a day like this. And I think I have a good read here. Just going to try to make a solid stroke. Finish her off in style. And just stayed high. I don't know how it stayed high like that, but I will tap that in for a 1 over 73. This was an awesome round, awesome course. I really enjoyed playing this course. Shout out to RainDance National for hosting me. And I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you guys want more videos like this, please let me know. This was just an awesome round, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this. So if you did, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the things, and I will see you guys next time.